Hi, Jim here, just dropping in before this week's episode to tell you about my latest movie, The Apocalypse Box. It's a horror film and I'd love for you to check it out. If you go to apocalypsebox.co.uk, you can find all the links on where you can watch the movie. Right, let's get on with this week's episode. Hi, Jim here, and you're listening to the Honest Filmmaker podcast, career advice from people in the business. This week, I'm speaking to filmmaker Eric Wong. Eric started out as a composer and then went on to make feature films in his home country of Singapore. He's recently completed and released in cinemas in Singapore his Christmas movie, Hi Noel. I spoke to Eric about what it was like making the film, what it's like being a filmmaker in Singapore. We also talked about his decision to make a Christmas film, why he chose a Christmas movie. The film's got two lead actors that are kids, so we talked about what it's like directing children, and also some of the lessons he's learned from his music composing, how they transferred over to directing. Enjoy. So talk to me about your route into filmmaking.
Well, Jim, I started filmmaking through the route of being a musician,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the first time I was involved with a movie of any kind, I was the composer, actually.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yes.
yeah, that's because I was going to talk about that, the composing stuff. So you composed on what, a short film or a feature?
I composed on a telemovie, a telemovie for the television. Yeah, it was a 90-minute movie. Yeah.
Oh, right, okay. And
Yes.
then when you were doing your composing, did you know you ultimately wanted to direct, or was it something you
No,
kind of... No.
no, not at all. I was fully into music.
Mm,
And I guess maybe because as I was writing, as I was composing, I had to listen to whatever the director wanted,
mm.
right?
And
So I
that,
was like, okay, right. So now I wanted to be the one calling the shots. Yeah, I mean, I'm joking.
and is there anything comparable from composing to directing? Are there any things that are the same, do you think?
Yeah, I think the sense of timing is quite similar.
Mm,
Because when you're composing, you're talking about beats, you're talking about pulse, you're talking about music, talking about different layers. And then when you're directing, it's pretty much similar in the
mm.
same but different way.
Mm,
Yeah.
definitely. And so you're in Singapore, from Singapore. What is the film industry like in Singapore?
Well, Singapore is a pretty small nation, right? We are
Mm,
about like maybe 6 million people population, right? So the film industry is not very vibrant. It could be better. It could be
hmm.
better. We have maybe about 10 local movies a year being released in theatrical.
Yep.
So yeah, and maybe another 10 or 20 in festivals.
Right. Okay. And
Yeah.
this is probably a misconception, but to me, Singapore seems like a wealthy place. There's loads of money, and I'm imagining you walking down the street, and there's people who want to fund films left, right, and centre. Is it like that?
I wish, Jim.
Yeah.
Man, that is a dream. Okay, that is a dream. No, I think yeah, you're right to say that Singapore's pretty wealthy. I mean, you've got
Mm,
a lot of rich people around, but does not mean that they would be extremely willing to fund movies, right?
no.
Because
Yeah.
if you talk about commercial films, the rate of investment, the rate of return is not that great as well,
Mm, mm,
unless we've got a larger market.
yeah.
Unless our movies can travel to maybe the entire Southeast Asia or the larger Asia or even the West,
Mm,
then maybe yes. Yeah.
yeah. And it's interesting. So your movie is in English, is it, or is it's got Mandarin in it as well? Is that right?
Yeah, it's 80% English and 20% Mandarin.
Right. And was that a choice you made for commercial reasons, or is that, what made you decide to do it that much in English?
Um, I think firstly, because in Singapore, our main language of business is English, right? Our
Right.
main language of education, instruction, it is in English.
Mm,
Um, but most of us, we kind of like mix and match a little bit of Mandarin here and there. So yeah, that's what most of us do. So it's made to be as natural as possible.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And so talking of the film, tell me about Hi Noel. Tell me about the film. What's it about?
So Hi Noel is a Christmas movie, Singapore's first Christmas movie, and it's about a little boy called Leon. He finds out that his parents could be headed for a divorce, So he creates an imaginary friend called Leon, and together they hatch a plan to try to save the marriage.
Lovely. And did
Yeah.
you why a Christmas film? What made you want to do a Christmas movie?
Well, first of all, because it's never been done before, right? And Christmas is one of my favorite seasons of the year. I mean, with all the gift giving and the food and the Thanksgiving, it's great, right? So we always watch stuff like Home Alone, and stuff like that. So I wanted to make our own Singapore version of that.
I always wondered maybe there's an advantage in doing a Christmas film because you just purely from a sales point of view, because you think, well, it's got repeat viewing possibilities because people can watch it every single year and kind of gives you that warm, fuzzy feeling. So again, was
Yes.
that ever in your mind or?
Yes, it was. Actually,
Yeah.
yes, it was. I mean, how many reruns of Home Alone have we watched?
Yeah,
Right? So something like that.
yeah,
Yes,
definitely.
definitely.
And how did the film come about?
The idea was from my daughter, actually. I've got a 12-year-old daughter, and when she was 6, she told us that she has an imaginary friend, right? And from there, she introduced us to an entire world of imaginary friends. I was like, wow, okay, kids today, they have such imagination. And as we did more research, we realized that up to 60% of kids in the world have imaginary friends. So
Wow.
we thought, oh, what a cool idea, and we wanted to deal a little bit with some of the modern issues of divorce. I mean, we know that divorce rates are rising all over the world, all across the world, not just in the West, but in Singapore, in China, everywhere. So I wanted to explore a little bit about the impact of that on children.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you got the idea from your daughter, and you've written your script. Now what? How did you get the money? How did you get the finance to make the movie?
Okay, so the script existed as a 20-minute short film initially.
Hmm.
So when we decided to take the plunge and do it, we said, okay, let's expound the script into a 90-minute feature. And so we took about a month to do that. And because we run a production house, right? So most of our pre-production and post-production, it's all in-house effort, right? So
Yeah.
so we didn't have to come up with cash in that sense.
Mm.
So we only had to come up with cash for the talents, the location, the wardrobe, the crew, and all that. So we self-funded the entire thing.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
okay, self-funded.
yeah,
And is it,
yeah.
I guess, the flip side of Singapore being a wealthy place, does that mean everything costs more? Is it more expensive to make a film?
Yes, it is. So it's not working in our favor, right? I mean,
Mm,
in the entire Southeast Asia, I think we are the most expensive in terms of film production, in terms of crew, man hours, right?
mm,
Equipment rental, stuff like that. Yeah.
yeah,
So we
yeah,
are
yeah.
quite expensive.
Quite expensive. And then also the other thing is one of your lead characters is a child.
Two of them.
What's it, two of them? So what's it like working with children? Have you got any tips for people who are going to be working with kids?
Okay, my AD, my assistant director, was my wife, right? And she has a lot of experience dealing with kids.
Yeah,
So, I mean, she used to teach in kindergarten. So that
right.
really, really helped. Okay, so
Mm,
I think my advice for directors who have never dealt with children, or if you don't have kids of your own, um, get someone who's great at handling and wrangling them. I mean, I'm sorry to
mm.
use the word wrangle, but yeah, sometimes we do need some help. And especially on day one of our shoot, it was a kindergarten scene, right? So we've got
Mm,
15 kids,
yeah.
and we are trying to block them and put them in their place and tell them not to move. After the first couple of them stop moving, the next few will start moving, and it's like like what do you call that? Whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So it
can
was
imagine.
yes, it was difficult.
Yeah, and what about getting the kind of performance from the children? So the moments where you really need them to be sad or happy. Is there any sort of technique for getting that?
I think you've got to prepare them, right?
Mm,
If they know the scenes prior to whatever the shoot days, they can do some preparation. Some of them actually do some homework, right?
mm,
So they go and watch how other actors their age do it, and then they think about how they want to execute their part. So those are actors who are, how do I say it, they are more professional in that sense.
mm, mm.
Yeah. So even the kids, they do that. Yes.
Good to hear. And then you've shot the film, and
Yes.
then I've seen you've got like a limited cinema release for it. Is that
Yes.
something that you arranged, or have you gone through a sales agent? How have you managed that?
So in Singapore, we have a few major distributors. So I approached one of them, whom I've known for some time, and he
Hmm.
was actually very, very pleased, to support helping to distribute the movie. So we had it released in about 9 cinemas.
Hmm. Oh, that's
Yeah.
great. That's really good. And
Yes.
how have you found how have you found that? Have you had to do a lot of promotion yourself, or?
Yes, actually, I mean, being the director in the production house, we do a lot of the promotion, right? So all the social media, so we ramp it up. We have like behind the scenes photos, we have short video clips, we have vox bots, we have like different people talking about it. So we try to, make a variety of social media posts every day.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
have you got has your distributor got plans for releasing it internationally?
Well, we we are so busy with our local distribution. We
Mm,
haven't found time to do that yet.
yeah.
Yeah, but we do
So
hope to do so. I mean,
hopefully
if
in the
there are
future.
distributors, yeah, if there are distributors tuning in, I'm sure, I'll be happy to have a word.
So you've made a feature film. It's your first feature film. What do you
Yes.
wish you'd known when you started that process?
I think I wish I had known how to do distribution better.
Mm,
Yeah. Because as a filmmaker, most often we are concerned with the story, right? And with the technicalities in creating the film. But we don't really think about how to distribute it later on. I mean, this is of course for the independent filmmaker, right? We're not
mm,
talking about
mm.
studio films.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I wish I had known a little bit more on distribution.
Right. And if you are a first time filmmaker,
Yeah.
where did you find it out? Was it trial and error? Was it research online? Where did you get your info on distribution?
Um. Okay. So attending film markets,
Yep.
right? Attending film markets. So I went to the American Film Convention this year.
Hmm.
And of course, speaking to veterans in the industry, right? Meeting, growing your network and meeting distributors. I think that is
Yeah.
very important.
Yeah.
We should do a lot more of that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you went to AFM this year. How was that experience for you? What did you get out of it?
So it's AFC. The AFM was
AFC.
in Las Vegas. Yeah, like,
Ah,
AFC is a
right. Oh, you went
new.
to AFC. Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a brand new one. It's a brand new
Yeah.
one, and it was great. Listening to all the you have studio level producers talking, and you have
Mm.
indie directors talking. So I learned a lot, really a lot. Yeah,
Oh, yeah. So one thing I was going to ask you about,
yeah,
and tell
yeah.
me what the real, because obviously you read different things online. Are there Singapore's quite tight on media? Is it on restrictions? Is that true? Is there sort of restrictions of what you can do?
I think Singapore's media is quite open, right?
Right.
The only thing that is a little bit more touchy could be the
Hmm.
politics. That's about it. Everything else is okay.
Yeah. So it's more about, as I understand it, it's more about how news is reported rather than a restriction on creative
Yeah,
products. Is that
yeah,
right?
exactly. Yep, yep,
Right. Okay.
yep.
And one other thing I was going to ask you was, if I'm watching your movie, what do
Yeah.
you think? What's it going to tell me about Singaporean culture, and what's it going to tell me about what it's like to live over there?
Well, you're gonna see that Singapore is a really ultra modern,
Hmm.
um, ultra clean country, right? And the thing is that a lot of people still don't know that Singapore is not part of China. you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are lots of Americans who think that Singapore is still part of China. We're not, right? We're at the
Mm,
southernmost part of the Malaysian peninsula.
mm,
So we are an independent nation, and it's a very modern city. So it's
yeah.
great place to be. So please come and visit.
Oh, I don't know if I
Yeah.
can afford it. That's the tricky part, isn't it? I'm sure the hotels are probably quite expensive, but yeah, I'd love to come. Love to come. And I guess I was going to ask you about, because you've done a bunch of short films and you
Yes.
obviously create stuff, commercial videos for people.
Yes.
How did you get into that? And is that the day job? Is that what you do sort of day to day?
Yeah. So like I mentioned before, I was a composer, I was a musician. We did audio posts, we did sound design and stuff like that. But we signed on some music artists, so we are a record label as well. So
Oh,
as we
okay.
produce albums for them, produce music and songs and albums, we realized that we really needed the video side of things to sell the artists, right?
Mm,
Because people want to see who your artists are. So we started dabbling in video production. So that's how we got started.
mm,
So
mm.
one fine day, Singapore's most successful commercial director, his name is Jack Neo, he saw one of my music videos, right? And he got really excited. So he roped me into his production, his movie. Okay, so he was on it was a big budget production, right? Military, like a comedy, military comedy kind of thing, right? Like Police Academy, but it's in the military, something
Yep.
like that. Okay, so I joined his production on day 20, so it's halfway through. He shot it for
Mhm.
45 days. Okay, so I joined on day 20, and on the first day when I was there, he turned to me in the morning, right? In the morning, I've never been on a big production before. Okay, I'm looking at the director's monitor. He turns to me and says, "Eric, I'm going out for a meeting. You direct."
Wow.
So I was like, sure, no problem, sir. Just go ahead for your meeting and I'll direct. And I did not even know the script and I did not know what was happening, but I just jumped into it. So
Yeah.
that was my first foray into the movie business, right?
Mm,
And of course, for the next 25 days or so, so I was directing and I was on the cameras as well, jumping back and forth, right?
mm.
And then after the movie wrapped, he had a lot of sponsors in his movie. So I started doing all the commercial ads for all these sponsors. So that's how, we started crafting our skills. Yeah.
Wow. That must have been a baptism of fire if you're dropped into a
Yes.
film like that. But that sounds really good.
Yeah. But because of that, we discovered the love and a passion for telling stories through film.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm. And
That
did
was
you
really
you
fun.
mentioned your wife's your AD on the feature film.
Yes.
Did you meet her in that filmmaking environment, or did you both kind of move into that after you'd
No,
met?
we were all musicians before. Yeah,
Oh right.
so
Oh okay. So the
yeah,
whole
we're all
gang.
musicians. The whole gang, yeah. So she's not just the assistant director, she was the
Mm.
editor and the colorist of the film.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Lots of bit of a family business. And what about your daughter? Have you got her into it yet?
Yeah, she acted in it.
Oh, lovely. There we go.
A small little scene, small little scene.
So, do you have a motto? Do you have a mantra or anything that you apply to your work?
Not really, but personally, we believe in giving it our best, We
Mm.
don't ever do slipshod work. We want to produce work that is excellent. So we believe in that. Yeah.
Yeah. Good, good, good.
Yeah.
And then what is the best Christmas movie ever made and why?
Best, I think it will still be Home Alone. It's still Home Alone. Yeah. I I like it because it's there's just something special about, you know, a little boy being locked at home and then you trying to, save himself from robbers and all. It's a fun movie.
Mm.
Yeah. So I just like that. Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you'd like to hear from more industry professionals, how they got into the business and how you can do the same, or you just want to listen to some cool stories from movie sets around the world, then please do subscribe to the Honest Filmmaker podcast.